So is the suggestion that the legislature will somehow determine whether or not the executive can use various technology to search for particular information?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how your suggestion that the legislative branch will regulate this area will work out. Is the suggestion that the legislature will simply decide that the executive can't even search for certain information?
Well, I think it really comes back to a balance between liberty and security, liberty and order. Sorry. So I think, as Judge Richard Posner of the 7th District argues, whether the legislative at certain times will have to be taking the precedent, but in a time of crisis, for example, after 2001, after 9/11, the executive obviously had to take a stand because it was a time of crisis.
So are we still in a time of crisis?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to disagree with my colleague here and say that on June 2nd, 1787, Roger Sherman stated that the executive branch was supposed to be a tool to be used by the legislative branch. So I think that the legislative branch should be able to dictate what the scope of the executive branch should be able to do.
But getting back to your question, asking if we are still in a time of crisis, we can see that Congress is going back and has not renewed some of the U.S. Patriot Act. So we can see that that although we still are in slightly a time of crisis, we're starting to get back towards liberty instead of order.
However, we can see from the newest renewal of the Patriot Act that sections 203, sections B and D in particular, about information and data mining have still yet to be, have already been renewed, which seems to prove that the legislature still believes that we are in a time of crisis.
And also Section 805 of the Patriot Act still has not expired, as other acts of the Patriot Act have expired on December 31st of 2005, yet we still have material support, which is still in act today. So that could conclude that we are still considered in a time of crisis.
So what procedures should be instituted before the government can mine data for your telephone, my telephone, and all of my emails and your emails? Mine are going to be boring, but go ahead. Never mind. Good job.
Sure. The issue is a very difficult one, and you all did a solid job of working your way through it. The question of what technology is going to bring us in the future and what it will continue to bring us is just tough. Part of the question becomes, what do you do when the Fourth Amendment's history has always been one of adapting to new technology? To the extent that we haven't really changed the way we view various questions, you all took a risk by saying, let's just change the system. And it's good to take a risk sometimes. It's good to suggest that you just change the system. And you all did a nice job of defending why you want to do that, why you want to change the system. To the extent that you all thought about the issue a lot, that's to you all's credit, and I think you did a very solid job of supporting what you all were trying to do. It'll work out interestingly, and it'll work out differently in different contexts, and I think you all recognize that, and the questions are to be resolved in the future. So good job.
Thank you.
Judge.
I may be misremembering, which seems to be happening more and more as I approach the age of 64, when I don't know whether people will still need me or feed me. But it's my impression that Munster High School is a perennial speech and debate power. Am I correct? Anybody do forensics on the team, speech and debate? I echo my colleagues' admiration for your gutsiness in suggesting a new paradigm for the implementation of the Fourth Amendment, but I think there's an element of fiat involved in your presentation that I don't think is going to fly outside the context of policy debate. data mining may be legitimate under some circumstances, illegitimate under others, with respect to whether it passes Fourth Amendment constitutional muster. But suggesting the imposition of legislated rules as the measure by which to determine the legitimacy of that new paradigm by fiat, I just don't think is going to fly. And I only regret that we don't have another hour to talk more about it, because what you're sending up the flagpole is very interesting, and I'd like to explore it, and we don't have time to do it. But I found it very interesting. You presented it well, and I think you did a very solid job.
Outstanding participation across the board. You know, this Fourth Amendment has probably been written by courts more than any other amendment, and now you folks, your generation, is going to have to face a tough question that I don't think any of the generations have faced, and that's going to be this issue of cyberspace, and you know what's out there and what's yours and what's mine and what's not the government. You know, the Fourth Amendment, don't trust the government. Hi, I'm Jerry Bass. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help you. And I say that tongue in cheek, because you all are wrestling with that issue of, government serves a purpose and, protects us, and then, I've got my privacy too. And government, it's none of your business. And in today's world, and as fast as today's world moves, hard question for your generation to answer. But like I've said before, and I'll say it here again, when I listen to everybody's answers, those values are in my opinion, are in good hands, because they're in your hands. Awesome job.